A planned peaceful demonstration by Tanker Drivers Association to register their frustrations over poor working conditions and distortions in salaries today turned violent. Well, the Petroleum Tanker Drivers Union has given the National Petroleum Authority a one-week ultimatum to resolve their issues. Failure to do so, it says, 8 members will park their tankers. Now, whilst the NPA boss Hassan Sampuli announces steps are being taken to address the matter, he's also warning fuel tanker drivers who discharge fuel to oil marketing companies with leaking facilities will be surcharged if found out. But that's not all, because the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, is also warning of imminent fuel shortage if the matter is not settled amicably. So, what was the outcome of the NPA's meeting with the Tanker Drivers Association? We know the NPA has directed that they call off the strike, but how is government addressing the poor working conditions of these drivers? What are the implications of a looming fuel shortage after the recent fuel price hikes? Tonight on PM Express, we'll be digging deep into the issues and also search for solutions. I'll be introducing my guest to you shortly after this break. Welcome back. It's PM Express. Tonight we're talking petroleum tankers demo 10 SAR, NPA's directives, and COPEC's red alert regarding fuel shortage. I would want to refresh your memory on events that has led us to here. So we'll get to know what are the issues. Then that can set the tone for discussion.
JoyNews got to the scene. An angry crowd of tanker drivers were confronting someone, allegedly from national security, who pulled out an AK-47 to disperse the crowd. But his plan went wrong. Then chairman of the tanker drivers, George Nwanu, tried to intervene and calm tempers, though he felt his life was threatened.
Me all efforts akamenya kwan akọ ministry no na kamini minister no akokasa na so drivers no car makofa besi ho omayi from Africa no mu
I did my best to get to meet the minister, but the drivers have deflated my tire. I am really terrified. They have locked up my office and seized my mobile phone. I am prepared to resign as chairman.
For a moment, the place was peaceful until the gas tanker drivers started to operate, but were disallowed. The police stepped in to restore calm, but when the situation got out of hand, they resorted to firing tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd.
So we are here only to maintain peace and tranquility.
Shortly after the incident, the chairman appeared angry and accused NPA boss of being behind the confusion.
Strange bullet hit 2 people. You understand? Strange bullet hitting 2 people. Okay, I'm thinking once they are peacekeepers, okay, when they come, the first thing for them to ask is even the chairman, who is your leader? You understand? But they even never asked of the leader. They started a shooting. What Mr. Tampuli said on radio, I heard it, that he has nothing to do with tanker drivers. He don't know them from anywhere. Today, if the president will appoint somebody as chief executive whom tanker drivers cast product from all the depots to the destinations, and today he gets his margin and telling us that he don't know where the tanker drivers, I thank him.
2 persons were hit by rubber bullets and drivers were livid.
Is it a crime for us to address our salary issues? What is the use of the police? What kind of country is this?
Mwefa post for some boy too.
And Omukuya mo ne wuso Omukuya.
We work and get tired. No one asks us for 1 cedi. We ply the road from morning till evening, and if we have the platform to have a dialogue, police are invited. They can kill us. After our demise, the police should come and drive the tankers. It looks like tanker drivers are voiceless. Thus, this treatment is what we get.
But the police explained they used the tear gas and rubber bullets to restore calm.
See, we've come to maintain peace and order here. Now you can see this a very big installation. And as they are resorting to violence, there is the need for us to disperse them. That's why we threw the tear gas to disperse them.
The entrance of the Tema oil refinery was later left calm as the chairman of the tanker drivers advised his men to leave.
Well, that was what transpired at the tour office in Tema today. And some 5 people have been arrested, others were injured. A lot has happened. And over the last few hours, the NPA has also spoken. One of the things Asan Tampoli, who is NPA boss, says is that that strike must be called off. But he also said that government will take steps to engage these tanker drivers to resolve the issues amicably. Don't also forget that there's a red alert by COPEC that there could be fuel shortage if this issue is allowed to escalate. All of these, I have so many questions and I have a lot of answers that will be coming from my guest tonight. We'll take another break. When we come back, I'll introduce him to you. So you just saw the planned peaceful demonstration turned sour. That was the Tanker Drivers Association who planned a peaceful demonstration this morning, but that did not happen. It turned into violence. My guest in the studio tonight is Duncan Amwa, who is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. We'll also get to hear from the General Secretary of the Tanker Drivers Association, who will be joining us on phone. Welcome, Duncan.
Aisha, thank you, and good evening to your viewers.
Well, I know you've been trying to help the people who were arrested, and the reason why you didn't come in early anyway, but it's been a very hectic day for the Tanker Drivers Association. For those who were arrested and for those who were injured, too bad. But your preliminary observations of today's event?
Well, Aisha, let me say our apologies to those who have been caught in between, those who had to take some of the rubber bullets. Some are badly injured. 3 of them I know are on admission in some hospitals in Tema. The others who were arrested, some equally had some of the rubber bullets wounds. And so if you look at the images, some are not very encouraging, but we would plead that anytime there is any sort of protest, we should try and make it as peaceful as possible. I have, on occasion today, had to respect the police even much more, although some of the officers, I believe, the sort of force they applied was excessive. It was totally needless. At some point it got chaotic. They could have dispersed them either way. I don't know their codes, but if you look at rubber bullets entering people's skins here and there, I do not think that it was very healthy. And so in saying this, let me say, okay, good evening to the Tema Regional Police Commander and the Community 1 Police Commander, Superintendent Kwache. They've done a very good job, and I can confirm that as of this evening, all who were arrested have been granted bail and they've gone home to their various families. We wish that whatever the situation is, they should rather resort to jaw than these bullets flying about. It didn't send a very good signal to all of us.
But you have been monitoring this impasse between the NPA and the Tanker Driver Association because it didn't start today. Take us through the genesis. What has led us here?
So Aisha, we at COPEC, you know, the drivers are our friends. In fact, when we had to even embark on demonstrations, they were our backbones. And so every point in time, their issues almost always concern us equally. There were certain points some of the drivers will walk to you in the office to complain that their salaries are not coming. And in instances where they even get the salaries, these salaries are not as one would expect. Some of them would complain that by the time shortages that they incur in the process of moving one product to the other, sometimes deducted off their incomes. We had to confront some of the tanker owners to seek answers to why some of the drivers are not treated well at all. Now, when you push the owners, you get the feeling that they are also able to do as much as is given to them because they are paid from the UPPF, what you call in the price build-up as the Unified Petroleum Price Fund. And so there's a fund that consumers contribute to. At the end of the period, those who moved products across the country are paid from that fund. And so the owners will tell you that if they receive 5 cedis, they cannot pay 10 cedis. So if they receive 5 cedis, they will pay 5 cedis.
Right.
So it looks as though in the minds of these drivers, at some point, it was the owners that were shortchanging them.
Okay.
And so we had on occasion not to just confront the owners, but I've also sat with the drivers a couple of times. What comes out clearly is that if you see a document before me, this is the Bulk Road Vehicle Driver and Mate Emoluments, Appendix 1. This had been initialed somewhere on the 5th of June 2017.
Yeah.
And if you look at the figures at play here, the base pay is spelled out. The variable pay per trip, 4 trips per month, is also spelled out. So gross monthly pay is equally stated. Employers' social security. So their salary structure is almost well defined.
Right.
Now, it is the execution.
Okay.
So they have signed, you know, the owners have signed, the NPA has signed, the drivers have signed.
Okay.
So one expects that at the end of the day, these drivers will get what they have signed for. Unfortunately, they are not getting what they have signed for. And so if you put yourself in their stead or in their shoes, you feel bad for them.
Okay.
When you probe the owners, they say that they can only pay what they have been given. Now, this is where I think the challenge is coming from. There's another document right here where between the NPA and the tanker owners, this number 4 trips per month increases to 10 trips per month.
Okay.
So what the NPA will pay the tanker owners, whom they have a contract with directly, is for 10 trips per month. And so to earn the figure here, you may have to do 10 trips per month. Yet what has been signed with the drivers indicates 4 trips per month. So if you were a driver, and this is your bargaining, or this is what your agreement is, when you do your 4 trips, you expect to earn your full salary or your full gross.
Right.
They are not earning their full gross after 4 trips.
Okay.
So it is upon thorough questioning or scrutiny that it came out that what is between the owners and the NPA is 10 trips.
Okay.
And so that is where I have said that the confusion is. And so this matter for some of us, if cool heads should prevail, should not take more than 2 hours to resolve.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it looks as though a lot of mistrust has been built along the process.
But in some last few hours, we've had suggestions that the NPA has met with leadership of the Tanker Drivers Association. One of the things we got from the NPA boss, Hassan Sampoli, is that the strike should be called off. That's a directive the NPA boss gives. And also, we also are hearing that there will be a meeting between them. But as to whether the issues or the demands of these drivers are being resolved, we do not know. Let's listen to Hassan Sampoli.
We have agreed that the Tanker Drivers Union current strike action should be called off with immediate effect, and that all their membership who are currently stationed at various depots across should withdraw with immediate effect. Their leaders have come and the matters have been resolved one way or the other. Basically, that's the first action. But more importantly, we have decided that as a group, matters of this nature would be addressed by all of us sitting at a round table like this one. The events of the last couple of days really were matters which took a whole lot of us, by surprise, because there was no immediate trigger to the action that has necessitated this meeting. We've continued to engage each other on a regular basis. And we are doing this also bearing in mind that there are some actions when we take is going to likely lead to shortage of products in different parts of the country. So we, as a regulator, have an obligation to do a certain balancing act, that when you want to fully apply the law to the letter, you might also cause some problems in some areas. So that is the reason why you find that some parties will see that, you are supporting one party against the other party. That is not the case. We do not have any interest in this matter. The tanker drivers are the employees of the tanker owners, and they will continue to work, and the NPA will continue to play a facilitatory role in their relationship. We would see to the full implementation of the MOU that the parties have agreed upon. And on the final note, the MOU that was agreed among the parties is one that is going to see some revisitation. The parties have identified some latent flaws in the agreement, and the understanding is that we'll give ourselves 1 week where we'll go back and then renegotiate the terms of those MOU, and we'll communicate to the general public in due course. So basically, these are the points that this meeting has been able to bring up. Thank you.
That was Hassan Sampoli, NPA boss, explaining what has transpired between the Tanker Drivers Association and the NPA, and he's been giving some directives there. Duncan, in your statement you released, you made mention of how government should amicably settle this issue to avert an imminent shortage in fuel. Before I even delve into the shortage of fuel, how do you suggest government goes about this?
Cool heads must prevail. Indeed, a lot of water has gone down the bridge, and so if you speak to the drivers, you get a feeling that they don't even trust anything will be done. They've gone back and forth. If you look at when this bargaining was signed, 5th of June 2017, they've gone past 5th of June 2018. September is almost ending, and yet the same challenges they had, which led them to now going for some experts to come and negotiate on their behalf, for which these agreements were made. The same conditions continue to exist. Now, Aisha, just so the records are clear, these tanker drivers sit on hydrocarbons throughout the year. Now, just so our audience are also clear,
right,
when the filling station is even sited close to people's residence or a bit far, we are jittery. Yet these ones sit on hydrocarbons, petroleum products, the white ones. sometimes to travel from here to Tamale, when you are in a comfortable bus, you are not comfortable. If they do all the distances and at the end of the month, shortages become, they come against them, and some of them will end up going home with as little as 150 Ghana cedis. You and I can imagine what sort of injustice we are doing to them. And so we have said that if it means, right, that instead of the figure 4 and 10, which is in contention between the drivers bargaining and what the owners have also signed with the NPA, if they could come to a middle ground of, say, 6, that says that if you're able to do the maximum 6, you earn 700 cedis extra on your base pay. If you do 5, this is how much you earn. If you do 4, this is how much you earn. One would expect that they will go a step further to even be clear, so that when a driver does 2 trips at the end of the month, together with his base pay, he knows how much he's taking home. And then the issue of shortages, underground shortages and whatever, the time has come for that to be addressed holistically. You cannot continue to charge these drivers for shortages. Petroleum products behave funny. Now, you know, temperature would either make it expand or contract. And so sometimes the product, you get what you call product gains. Other times you get product losses. In some extreme cases, some of the drivers are also a bit dubious. They will find a way to also, unload some of the fuel to do whatever.
Right.
But in other instances, they may not even have done anything to the product. When these shortages occur and you ask them to pay for, right, invariably the person will be working, but at the end of the month, his wife cannot get a penny out of him. And the sort of dangers they sit with, I'm sure if you gave that to most Ghanaians, they will run away. And so we need them as much as they need their salaries. If they don't move these products from, say, Accra to Nsawam, right, for 1 week, what will happen is that the people in Nsawam will not get fuel. And so for economic activities to go on across the country, we need to find a middle ground to ensure that the drivers are not shortchanged, the car owners are also not shortchanged. The NPA must see to all of these. But it doesn't look as though, from the agitations we are seeing, anybody has made any concrete effort to address their issues. That's why we are where we are. The issues are solvable. The issues are not beyond what the NPA and the owners and the drivers could sit to dialogue. But it doesn't look as though over a year and some months there's been that good faith towards the drivers, towards arresting or solving their issues. That's why they have gotten to where they are now as we speak.
Well, let's see what the Tanker Drivers Association make of the directives by the NPA.
Yeah, I think that really we are satisfied with whatever agreement has been reached. The fact is that, let me say that we are very, very sorry for what happened the course of today. And we are also very happy that at the end of the day we have been able to come to some level of understanding. And let me tell you that the union, with its membership, is really satisfied with the steps that are being put in place for us to address the concerns of the tanker drivers. We've agreed that going forward, after going back to work, we'll be engaging the stakeholders, the Tanker Owners Association as well as NPA, for us to meet on Monday, for us to look at the actual grievances of the employees and address them. And we are satisfied with that.
Okay. And your members made specific reference to some conditions of service which triggered this particular action that we saw today and then the announcements last week. From where you stand as the chairman or the leader of a group, the general secretary of a group, do you think your members will be satisfied with this particular agreement?
Yes, I think whilst we are meeting here, we have the leadership of our members. The Tanker Drivers Union members are here. And I think we consulted ourselves very well. We went out to caucus before we finally came to this agreement. The most unfortunate thing is that this MOU was signed some time ago, but I think the implementation has been the issue. But with the National Union fully involved now in these affairs, we are assuring you and the public that we'll be able to come over these issues.
The boss talks about the manual that they are going to ensure strict compliance to the guidelines of this particular manual. Is this manual something that all your members already are privy to, the contents of this manual?
I tell you honestly, all the tanker drivers are aware of this manual, but there had been some abuses over the manual, and those are the issues that we have addressed and will continue to address going forward.
He talks about the drivers boycotting OMCs that do not comply fully with this particular manual, but that would mean that they are giving unfair advantage to other people who will overlook some of the breaches of this manual and still go and supply fuel to the people.
No, but the fact is that that's the only way we can solve the problem. The manual is very explicit. When you go to a place and you are not satisfied about the discharging processes, you as a driver, you need to boycott it, because if you don't do that, at the end of the day, you'll be surcharged for whatever losses is involved. So I think that people are okay with it, and I think we agree that they can boycott it.
We are not going to hear any threats of strike action again.
I assure you, I don't think it's going to happen.
So you heard the General Secretary of the Tanker Drivers Association, Hussein Idris, and he makes the point that they are satisfied with what transpired between them and the NPA. But it's emerging that the NPA met just a few of the leadership and not all of them. Duncan, so is that what actually happened? Did the NPA meet just quite a few of the leadership and no, so it means that it's not a full house that met the NPA. Is that what's transpired?
Aisha, I've been with the drivers for most of the afternoon this evening. In fact, one of the reasons I actually would have gotten in late is that I had to see to it that bail is granted those that had been arrested. And that's why I said the Community 1 police commander did a very good job in ensuring that the guys don't end up sleeping in cell. Kudos to him. Now, the sense you get from the other 30 or so drivers who thronged the police station after the arrest of their colleagues is that they are not calling it off. That is the sense you get of them.
Okay.
In fact, I had made some efforts to try to calm them and to suggest that we should judge, but you get the feeling that some of them believe they have not even been shown any respect.
But this is the General Secretary who represented them. I mean, it's enough to represent the association, isn't it?
The good thing is that he will have to go back to the membership.
Okay, to relay the message to them.
Whatever discussions went on behind closed doors.
Right.
Now, we will be happy if they come out tomorrow fully to say that indeed the assurances given them are enough and they are able to proceed with their work peacefully. But I can put on record that that is not the sort of vibe I got of them this evening. As of about 7 p.m., that's not the sort of vibe I got from most of their members. Now, what brought about the fracas, in fact, the confusion today, you know, you have the white product drivers, those who cut petrol, diesel, aviation, kerosene, and all of them. And then you have those who cut LPG.
Okay.
The LPG bulk is a bit different from the other white products.
Right.
Now, it was supposed to be a solidarity sort of, sit-down arrangement. It got to a point the LPG guy said, well, they will go ahead and load.
Okay.
And I think in trying to prevent them, it degenerated into some sort of a scuffle.
Okay.
And that is where the police got in and had to disperse with rubber bullets and all of that, tear gas. But naturally, if you even succeed in getting the LPG drivers to go ahead and load, and these ones don't feel satisfied, and they want to continue with their strike action, what will now happen to us, you and I, the ordinary persons out there, is that there will be LPG in the system, but the white product, who is going to move them?
Okay.
And that is why we have said that cool heads should prevail.
Yeah.
If it means that the NPA, the Ministry of Energy, and whoever is in charge would have to meet the full membership of the drivers. It may be tense, it may be a bit hot and heated, but let them jaw to a point where trust can be rebuilt between them, such that they do not feel the NPA is not working for their interest. They do not feel someone is cheating them of their due after working 30 days. There are times they will complain to you. You move products from Accra to, say, Bupe or Boga.
Right.
You could be 3 days, 1 week on the road. And so they leave family, they do all sort of things just to get all of us moving. If they cannot move, then there's a problem. That's why we've said that if they sat again, the impression we get from what the General Secretary says is that they are satisfied with how the meeting went. We'll be happy the generality of their membership come to the same conclusion tomorrow.
Okay.
Anything different, I will not be surprised that they would want to continue with their strike, because what they are asking for is conditions of service for the efforts they put in getting petrol across the country. Until and unless someone gives them a firmer assurance that this time they are not going to sign another document that will sit on a certain shelf for a year and some months and nothing is done, and they continue to suffer the consequences of our inaction, I do not think that you'll be able to convince all of them. But I'll be happy that tomorrow morning I am told that they will meet, the general membership of the Tanker Drivers Association would meet. I'll be happy to hear from them genuinely that they are going to go about their duties as regularly as usual. They are not going to proceed with these demonstrations, and you and I can get our fuel.
And indeed, I heard the NPA boss made mention that if they meet them next week, there's a meeting scheduled for next week. If that meeting happens, they will go back to the memorandum of understanding that they signed. So we're hoping that once that is done, then they can review and put what is supposed to be put things in structure, how they want it to be, so that they can avert some of these scuffles. But the scarier part of the release you put out there is the fact that you're warning, we're actually cautioning the NPA and the Energy Ministry of an impending fuel shortage if this issue is not properly dealt with. I'm worried and I'm concerned about what correlation is here.
You see, Aisha, I've been with them, like I said, and so I've heard a lot of things with hard drivers. I would be happy to go back to my work tomorrow morning knowing that the friction is done and over with. Now, like I indicated earlier, if we don't get that, what now happens is this. Those who can move LPG products would now resort to moving LPG across the country. So LPG will be in supply. What then happens to the white products if these guys say they won't move? Are we going to recruit new drivers altogether and give them these trucks? Mind you, these are not trucks that you could just move around like you could move, let's say, a Picanto or a normal vehicle. You would need some minimum training to handle those vehicles. And so, can we get to a common ground where their fears are assuaged, where they don't have the sort of mistrust that they sort of have towards both the transport owners and the NPA, right? Are we going to be able to convince them fully by tomorrow morning, like I indicated, that something is going to be done this time, and we will not sign an MOU that will sit on a shelf for a year and plus and nothing will be done? If we get to that point, then fuel shortages are not going to be a problem. Aisha, anything other than that, if they don't move, I can assure you, in 3, 4, 5 days, maximum 1 week, there will be shortages across the country because the fuel stock you have, people are consuming them by the day. You would need to restock, replenish. We don't have an efficient pipeline system in Ghana where you can say that if the trucks are not even moving, you pump all through the pipelines and products will be available throughout the country. And so we need to find a solution to this impasse as soon as practicable, so that they go back to the road, they go back to moving products to Kumasi, to Takoradi, to Tamale, to wherever, and people do not have to at some point queue for products simply because the driver has not gotten what is due him, and there's an MOU signed that they are not seeing top, in quotes. And I think that until we get to that point, the fuel shortage possibility is something that
it's
you
so
and
high.
I should be worried
It's
about.
so high, but already people are frustrated about the recent price hikes in fuel, and so shortage in the commodity certainly will be unpleasant. So if it happens, I don't wish it happens, but if it does, how dire will it be, and how close are we to the situation?
Aisha, like I indicated, we may have to wait till tomorrow when the General Secretary and those who met the NPA and the ministry today brief their members. If the members are satisfied, I am quite sure that they will come out together to say that they've laid down their strike action and they are going back to work. That way you and I can go back to our jobs and have that peace of mind knowing products would circulate across the country. Anything other than that, if we continue to push them and say that the LPG guys should load, right? The white products, the petrol and diesel guys say they won't move products. The LPG guys should go ahead and load. And you infuriate these drivers further. What will happen is that you and I may end up in that crossfire. Already, like you indicated, we are paying so much for fuel.
Right.
The least anybody can do for us is to ensure that there's petroleum security across the country for anybody that needs it to go about their economic activities. If these things are also coming up, then they will be worrisome. Although we are not done discussing the fuel price increments like you indicated.
Okay.
It's taking a toll on our pockets. But to wake up to not having the product will be much dire on us than even the price.
And of course, mentioning the fuel price hikes, I've heard people whisper in the air. I can't put my finger on it, but the thing is, we're told this is not the last we're going to see. It means that fuel is going to be going up gradually. Can you confirm this?
You see, Aisha, we at COPEC, we've gone 3 steps forward. We've called for a national dialogue. Till date, no response. It will come back to bite us. We called for this dialogue 3 weeks ago. We knew that if we don't sit, put brains together, put ideas together, find solutions to these rampant increases, another increase will come. And so we saw it 3-4 weeks ago and said, let's have a dialogue, because the current pricing structure you have, Aisha, is only pointing to increases. I'm afraid when world market prices go up, Ghanaians pay more. When the city loses, we pay more. When world price doesn't go up and the city loses, we pay more. When the city is stable and world market prices go up, we pay more. When the two are negative, we pay double. And so the current pricing formula we have sort of favors increases more than it does to decreases or reductions. If you recall, there have been times when world market prices have even gone down, and then you will get the petroleum service providers say that there were some margins that they are losing, so they may have to stay prices, right? So where prices have to go down, often they are stayed. Where they have to go up, they are not stayed, they go up. And so today we've gone past the 5 cedi mark. I will not be surprised that we hit the 6 cedi mark by close of year. I will not be surprised. Okay. Because what you have now is like you leaving your vehicle on a slope, right? Not in a gear that it could safely park, but it's on a free fall. And so it continues to descend. And it will descend until you put a chalk to it and say that, stop here.
Right.
That stop here would not come from the politician. It will come from everybody. So let's have a national dialogue, put Imani to a table, put ASEP to a table, put COPEC in there, put the trotro drivers, taxi drivers, put the media, put Energy Ministry, Finance Ministry, Bank of Ghana, everybody that has an interest in petroleum issues. Put them together. Give them 2 days. Let them go through the petroleum price build-up, item by item. Road fund, levy, 41 pesos. Okay, let's interrogate it. Can we go to 35? How much would the revenue be? What would it mean? Juggle with it. Okay, let's maintain road fund at 41. Energy debt recovery levy, it's 40. Do we need 40? Do we have to go up? Can we go down? Let's look at it holistically. When we are done with the price build-up, now can we come to a point where government also now concede to Ghanaians that unlike happened in the 90s, in the 80s when Ghana didn't have commercial quantities of crude.
Right.
Today, when world markets go up, it is not negative for Ghana because we are producing. And so, Aisha, for me, at COPEC, we would wish that the world market prices could even go to 140 because we produce. Right? Now, when it goes to 140, what it means is that my government, my country will make more revenue.
Definitely.
If we are getting 30, or let's say we are doing 205 barrels a day, and prices are $30, our income daily could be about 600,000.
So if government gets more revenue, does that mean that I'm going to be paying less for fuel?
You see, Aisha, that is where we are calling for the dialogue. People have still not gotten it. And so the discussion seems to be centered more on taxes.
Right.
We have moved away from taxes and said, if you even took all the taxes out of petroleum price today, and you don't put in other interventions, the moment the city loses, there will be add-ons. The moment world market goes up, there will be add-ons. And so you may remove all the taxes, but prices may still go up because your city is still struggling. World markets are still volatile. They could go up. Now projections are that it should hit 90 by December. Aisha, should it hit 90, what it would mean to Ghana government is that our projections at 57.5 for 2018 will be recouping in excess of some $33, $36, right? So what we are calling for at COPEC is that let government make a certain concession that says if world market goes up beyond $5, I am going to put in some $2 to cushion the importers. So that you don't have to worry about, you know, that escalations that you would have seen in prices. Because I am making extra revenue on the international market.
Definitely.
Most of us have not come to that debate. So you recall in 2015, 2016, when world market prices went down to 30. Our government came back to us and said that their projections were 53. They are making losses of almost $20. So can Ghanaians help them through taxes to bring some price parity?
It's very
Today,
fresh
they are over
in my
recovering.
memory. Yes. So
nothing comes back to us.
So that has been the confusion here.
That's the confusion. And we are saying that we've come to a point where we need to strike a balance between how much government revenue is okay and how much to cushion the people. Countries across the world that would not be able to pay the sort of incomes the Germans and the Americans are paying will throw in something to cushion the average person. Unfortunately, we seem to discuss petroleum prices as though nothing can be done. Aisha, we beg to differ. Something can be done. We have also said that to eliminate the cedi, free fall or the cedi dollar exchange relationship whose impact is on fuel. Let's talk to the central bank so that they have a certain arrangement with these fuel importers. Now, if you bring the product and in 91 days, you're going to have to pay for it. Can the central bank guarantee that this is the product you bring, $1 million? Today, if you needed to pay the $1 million, it's about 5 million Ghana cedis because 1:5 maybe. In 91 days, it may move to 5.1 or 5.2. That means I will need 5.2 million Ghana cedis to pay $1 million. Can the central bank agree with these importers? Bring me your invoices or, what bill of lading. I would be able to pay the spot for you. So that you pay me back. Then you'll be eliminating the exchange differentials or losses. That will now have to push the importers to also factor into their pricing. That way, whether the city loses or gains, we may not pay for it on fuel price.
We know about a stabilization levy that is supposed to cushion the importers. So why is the consumer still burdened with some of these things?
That is not being applied. In fact, the most we've applied the price stabilization and recovery levy, the PSRL, is that when prices are supposed to go up, then we reduce that one and tell consumers we've given you something. You've given us nothing. We are contributing to the stabilization fund with the view that when prices get to a certain point that becomes too much, you will pick money out of that fund,
definitely
give to importers and say that, look, prices have gone up, but we are going to cushion the system. So don't even increase prices, although it's gone up. This is how much we are throwing in. We have no idea how much you and I have contributed to the stabilization fund. So as we speak, nothing comes from that fund. It is rather what you and I could have paid that is eased down on, and they tell us they've given us something. That clearly is not enough. Aisha, beyond the taxes, there would have to be certain minimal interventions to ensure that if at 76, you and I are paying above 23 cedis for a gallon, what happens when it goes to 86? What happens at 96? What happens at 106? What happens at 120? Can we put in place a certain working, mechanism that indicates in the end whether it's 130 or 140? Ghanaians don't bother because we are also exporting. So when it goes up and we make more, we'll throw in something to cushion the local market.
But as it is now, we don't have that. I was interested in what the NPA boss, some of the measures he says the NPA is taking, and one of the things he said is that the fuel tanker drivers who discharge fuel to OMCs with leaking facilities will be surcharged if found. And secondly, he says fuel tanker drivers must boycott OMCs who fail to adhere to safety protocols in the distribution chain. And of course, that sounds like good news, but how would this be implemented? Because definitely if you don't do it, another person will do it, and it means that you are out of business. So briefly, we are out of time. Briefly, is this the panacea to our problems?
Aisha, the NPA should enforce our regulations. Once you enforce that, you don't need a tanker driver to go and say that the OMC is doing the right thing or the wrong thing. If the right thing is to get a discharging pump, right, or to make sure your suction valves or your whatever are in place, if every station has to have it, they should have it. So that when the driver gets there, he is not the one going to ask, where is your pump?
Okay.
They all have to have it. They should have it.
So they
that way standards could be maintained for all of us.
All right. That's how we wrap up on PM Express tonight. We'll be monitoring events as they unfold, and trust Joy News will bring you all the updates. Many thanks to you, Dankanamwa, for coming, and you at home. Thanks so much for watching. Today you made my heart palpitate, but I'm forgiving you for that. My name is Aisha Ibrahim.